First speaker is Gavino Fernandez Jr., speaking about the 4th of July parade.
Oh, do we have another one? Gavino Fernandez, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name is Gavino Fernandez, and I'm here on behalf of LULAC District 12, El Concilio, and Cristo Rey Jamaica, and we're also here as part of the Trailer Park Show. If you would join me, Council members, with your flags and rise as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, doesn't it feel beautiful to be an American? And that is the whole purpose of our parade come July 29th. Thank you. In our community, and I'm only speaking to the Mexican-American community, I have observed that el 16 de septiembre, el 5 de mayo, we celebrate it to the maximum. Yet when 4th of July comes around, there's very little noise made about it. So we as a neighborhood association and as a coalition always observe Allendale with their fine, beautiful 4th of July parade. So we said, you know what, Allendale, get back. We're going to do one too. So I want to thank all city departments that will be there as information booths. I want to thank the council for your support, especially Austin Energy, Councilmember Riley for your support as well, and like I said, the whole council. The parade will begin we will start lining up at 9 a.m. We will be taking off at 10 a.m., head west on Cesar Chavez to Chicon, turn left, and head to Fiesta Gardens, where the Cristo Rey Jamaica will be in place. We will also have a short military service to recognize and honor our veterans and their families for the sacrifice that they give, especially during the days of the holidays when they're out of the home, either the soldier, male or female, and the families are left alone during Christmas, Father's Day, and Mother's Day. So with that, we want to invite everyone. It is a pedestrian parade. We know that a lot of us walk. Make our parade the 1.6 mile your walking activity day on Saturday. We welcome all of you. We are honored to have U.S. Attorney of the Western District be with us, Mr. Pittman. We also have General Orlando Salinas, and we have Captain. She's a Mexican-American female. Yeah. She's a captain, and she was an immigrant, became a U.S. citizen, and went all the way in the ranks to captain. And this is another thing we want to show our community and our children and educate them of the significance of the 4th of July and how important it is for us in our community. Thank you, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you. Robert MacDonald. Robert MacDonald.
Good morning, folks. It's good to see y'all again. I usually quote that plaque down there from the memorial for the homeless people, but I failed to make it down there and write it down, so I don't want to misquote it. But it does talk about the obligation, the moral obligation to end homelessness. I think it's possible. I know originally I was planning on speaking about being a world-class city and what that means. I mean, I think we're taking great steps. We have great architecture on our tall buildings. We are the largest city in America that has a no-kill zone for cats and dogs. And we protect salamanders. I think a world-class city, though, will also protect our homeless. I didn't hear one salamander dying last year. But what was it? 142 homeless people died on our streets. Do you think we might have an obligation to do something a little bit better? I mean, I know a lot of homeless people. And I don't like a lot of them. They get mean, they get ugly, they get dirty, they get smelly. But I have an obligation to love them anyway. I have the obligation to not harm them. If we can do it for the cats and dogs and the salamanders, I pray we try to do it for the homeless too. They really are the endangered species here in Austin. The developers, I don't know if you noticed this, but I've been watching through the last 15 years or so, and the developers seem to go to wherever the homeless are sleeping and camping, and they'll build houses and kick the homeless out. Which I don't have a problem against building houses. We need to build houses. More people are moving to Austin. But a world-class city? We're not there yet. I love this town, and I think we can be there.
Thank you, Robert. Linda Green. Oh, absolutely. Fluoride deception.
Fluoride deception, is there more to it?
No, that's all it says.
Okay. I'd like to let you all know that I have this little 30-minute video called The Fluoride Deception, and it's about a book that Christopher Bryson wrote. I think you've been maybe given copies of it maybe 4 years ago, but this pretty much explains the fluoride deception and goes all the way back to the late 30s, where the public is not being told about the truth about the fluoride waste that's added to our water, that both sodium fluoride, or byproducts of the aluminum industry, and the hexafluorosilicic acid, which y'all add to our water, is a waste product, an industrial waste product. And I related my speech to the military-industrial complex, which Dwight D. Eisenhower warned us of in 1961 in his departing speech. He said, "In the Council of Government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist." And recently, people have come to call it not just the military-industrial complex, but the corporate-industrial complex. And so it is with the hexafluorosilicic acid added to our water. This is an industrial waste product, which the EPA says cannot be added to Florida's river, air, water, or streams. And repeatedly, you've been given this information and much more information about the fact that 41% of our teens have dental fluorosis as a result of overexposure of fluoride, ingesting too much fluoride. So I'm going to try to burn copies of this 30-minute movie from the book called The Fluoride Deception, so that you guys can see the progression of where the fluoride added to our water is not for the benefit of your people, of your going on 500,000 citizens, but in fact is a cheap way for the phosphate fertilizer industry, the corporate industrial complex, to get rid of a very toxic waste, which our own government has told y'all, the CDC, the FDA had actually admitted it causes brittle bones, the risk of bone fracture, thyroid disease. So we're asking, since Mike Martinez suggested that 2 people had to bring this up for an agenda item, if there's any single one of you that would be willing to bring this up as an issue to remove this hexafluorosilicic acid from our water. We've been coming to you for 4 years. Is there Spellman or Kathy Tovo, could y'all please look at this DVD and then let us know if you
Thank you,
please
Ms.
do
Green.
that. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson Linder? And you're going to speak about human rights violations in the city of Austin.
I am Nelson Linder. I want to first acknowledge the Carter family and all of our supporters who are here today. Let me tell you why I'm here and give them my minuscule 3 minutes. I'm here to talk about what I consider to be human rights violations and the fact that the city council and city management in the city is not engaging in these issues, and as a result, they're going to federal courts where we're being defaulted to other citizens. But here's my first point here. In 2007, Kevin Brown was shot in the back 2 times by Michael Olson. That began what I call the Acevedo era. During that shooting, he fired at the police officer, but there was no indictment, and there was a clear case, in my opinion, of legally murder, but nothing happened. We had another 2 good years. In 2009, we had Nate Sanders. He was shot in Walnut Creek. In the meanwhile, we had called for a federal investigation. The day after Kevin Brown, actually the day before Kevin Brown was shot and killed, the FBI said, we're going to do an investigation. It went through a 2-year process, and you guys notified what they found in that investigation. And one of the things they said was that if you look at your use of force, there is a deficiency because other than stating what is reasonable, more importantly is how do you determine when force is really necessary, and sometimes in cases is force really necessary. That was their recommendation. Okay, it went through a 2-year process. Sanders came. And finally, in 2011, they closed the investigation. It was sent to the city manager and the city attorney. And what they said was they found no clear violations, but yet there were policies here that could lead to possible violations. 3 days later, Byron Carter was killed. I don't think that's just a coincidence. And here's my real point. We created a false dichotomy about this issue. We tell people that we're going to let it go through the process and go through the courts, knowing darn well that in this city, 9.51 shields police officers on the federal level, USC 1842 shields police officers. But you, city council, and you, city manager, have a responsibility to make sure that these policies are enforced. If there's a shooting like Byron Carter, you can say, Mr. Acevedo, we have a higher standard. We want this gentleman fired. But you do nothing, you sit back, let these folks go through the process, leave these families hanging dry. Then when a federal judge says, you know what, I can't make negligence intent, it's like your hands are tied. But I'm going to tell you something. You have the primary responsibility. You have subpoena power. You have deserted the Sentai black community. And I'm going to tell you something else. What happened to Byron Carter is a metaphor for what happens to black people in this entire city. Whether it be racial profiling, lack of employment opportunities, it's all the same thing. And as a city government, you have the right and responsibility to ask questions and let folks know that you run this city. And that the city manager at any time can say, you know what, if Margaret Ferguson said this is an issue, it's an issue. You leave her out to dry, you don't address these issues, and you leave these families by themselves. Let me tell you something as my time begins to run out. This is not about a settlement. The fact is you're not indicting people in this city for killing black people or brown people. They have no choice. You have the ability at any time, any point in time to say, you know what, we have a higher standard. We're not going to leave you dry because we do understand there were things that were wrong with this case. We're going to talk to you ourselves and settle this case.
Thank you, Mr. Linder. Thank you. Thank you.
I almost asked for a point of privilege, but I won't. But I tell you something. I'm disappointed if you don't ask just one question. But I know you want me out of here, and I'll get out of here swiftly. But I would think as representatives, given the state in this city right now with black people, I think you'll have at least maybe one question. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we want to just leave this alone.
Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you, sir.
I do have a question, and it's not, you sent us an email shortly after this case. You sent the entire council an email, and I was curious about that email because the email says that you will file human rights violations against the city council, I believe?
City government, yes, sir.
And so I wanted to ask you, what avenue are you pursuing to file human rights violations?
The first process is a commission that you created called the Human Rights Commission. I think I'll be there on the 22nd. Citing these very same situations, police brutality, lack of employment opportunities, perhaps even misuse of federal fundings. While you build Lady Bird Lake and all these other lakes, you spend nothing in East Austin to deal with unemployment of these young people like Kevin Mathis. We're going to show that you're not treating African Americans in this city on an equitable basis. It's going to be through your commission as we go forward.
Thank you, Mr. Linder. We're having
Did that answer your question, sir?
It does. Thank you. I thought it was, I'm trying to find the email. I know I saved it somewhere. I thought it mentioned something about going to federal court or
That's the secondary option right now, but my main point today is that you guys will no longer be the hide behind the federal courts, because we're going to come wherever you are and make you address a fight that is your responsibility to ensure that the rights of all people in the city, black and brown people, are protected by your police force. And while he's a police chief, you are city government. We're coming to you. Are there any other questions? No other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Linder.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Gus Pena. He's already at the microphone.
Council members, Gus Pena, native East Austinite, proud native East Austinite, proud United States Marine Corps veteran, served with the 1st, 3rd, and 4th Marine Divisions, 1st and 3rd Marine Air Wing, proudly, Vietnam. Council members, again, I'm going to read the items here. Veterans, issues and needs, housing, better treatment for veterans. We served our country and other countries for freedom, safety, and democracy. We were wounded. We are still wounded. We have mental health issues. We have health issues. We need housing, jobs. We need just some respect. Like Aretha Franklin said, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, show me respect, please. Affordable housing, I spoke about that already.
That's not exactly what she said. I'm just teasing, Gus. Go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem, that's disrespectful. Don't do that again.
Kidding. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're cutting my time up.
No, I'm not.
Affordable housing, yes, you are.
They'll give it to you. They will.
Okay. Affordable housing. Well, I just made a presentation about lack of affordable housing. It's costing us too much to live. We're dying. Lack of affordable housing. What can we tell our youth? We're going to have housing for you. Are you going to purchase? Too much expensive housing here. Jobs with benefits, that goes without saying. Expand summer job programs for youth. I've been saying this for many years. It's not my 1st, 3rd, or 5th, 10th year. I need mentors and tutors for our students in summer school. Please, we need to get them educated so they can achieve scholastic excellence and achieve it so they can be able to get a job. Court limits United States oversight of voting rights. I testified at the House and the Senate redistricting committees. This is a scam. This is a shame on us. We are disrespected. I'm a former discrimination complaints investigator for the Feds, Department of Treasury and Justice. I can tell you, this is a highly discriminatory move by the Supreme Court justices. It hurts us. We're being discriminated against. Last item last, the new VA healthcare facility opens up July the 9th. It's on Route 228. Councilmember Mike Martinez, we're going to need to expand it, actually cut down the time on it. It's a lengthy process to catch the bus. You're going to have more veterans going over there, and it's right near Precinct 4, Justice of the Peace and Constable facility. We need more increased ridership over there. Again, council members, please, if you listen to anything that I have to say here, our people are dying, lack of jobs, like they said, food, nutritious food, but also housing. We're not doing it. We're not getting it done here, council members. We need more support. And again, I want to thank a lot of the senators who supported us, veterans here in the city of Austin. They're not even from Austin. My elected officials didn't support us veterans groups. Yes, they didn't, Mayor Pro Tem. And I stand here by my word here. They didn't support us, but people, the Vietnam veterans in San Antonio, the senators and reps, they supported us more here in Austin than they did our own elected officials. And that is not acceptable to me. Thank you very much, and please, jobs, 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 affordable housing, clear-cut definition of affordable housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pena. Sam Holt? There we go. The Byron Carter case.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Holt. I'm a retired APD chief, assistant chief after 30 years of honorable service. And I came here to make some comments on the Byron Carter case. And what I want to share with you is that we know that police officers don't begin their day with the intention of harming or killing anybody. But sometimes unfortunate events do occur. And Byron Carter was one of those unfortunate events that happened. Being mindful that he was a passenger in the car and that he had not committed any crime at that particular point. It is my belief and the belief of several community members when such an event occurs that the city administrators should handle the situation as an administrative issue and compensate the Carter family for the losses of Byron Carter. If that does not happen, it displays its sensitivity on the community's behalf, on the city's behalf by the city leaders, and that particular sensitivity begins to erode the relationship between the police and the community. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Phillip Greene? Phillip Greene? Mr. Phillip Greene is not here. Will McLeod? Oh, there you go. Hello, Mr. Greene.
"24 separate studies showing that fluoride lowers IQ. The most recent study, published by Harvard, funded by the National Institute of Health, states that children living in areas with highly fluoridated water have significantly lower IQ. The CDC now advises against giving fluoridated water to infants and toddlers after it was revealed that 41% of American youth have dental fluorosis. 41%. The physician's desk reference states that approximately 1% of the population is allergic or hypersensitive to fluoride. 1% of the population, that's a lot of people here in Austin. U.S. EPA classifies fluoride, hydrofluorosilicic acid, as a Class 1 hazardous waste product. That's from the EPA. And senior chemist at EPA, Dr. William Hersey, states, quote, "If this stuff gets into the air pollution, if this stuff gets into the air, it's a pollutant. If it gets into the river, it's a pollutant. If it gets into a lake, it's a pollutant. But if it's added directly to your water supply, it's not a pollutant. That's amazing." Unquote. Under Texas State Code 26.001, pollution is defined as the alteration or the contamination of any water in the state that renders the water harmful, detrimental, or injurious to humans, animal life, property, or impairs the usefulness or public enjoyment of the water. You're in violation of that code. This is from the EPA. Quote, "Based on data from the National Academy of Science, current levels of fluoride exposure in drinking water may cause arthritis in a substantial portion of the population long before they reach old age." It's the EPA. This is from the American Journal of Epidemiology, October 1999. Quote, "Fluoride damages bone even at levels added to public drinking water." This is from JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association. Quote, "Significant increase in the risk of hip fracture in both men and women exposed to artificial fluoridation at 1 part per million." Hydrofluorosilicic acid, H2SiF6, is a hazardous waste product, and its contamination of public drinking water is a violation of the Texas State Code, which not only impairs the usefulness and public enjoyment of the water, but unquestionably renders the water harmful to those allergic to fluoride or those more susceptible to its harmful effects, like infants and toddlers. Do any of you have a comment on the addition of a chemical waste product that violates Texas State Code to our drinking water? Anyone have a comment?
Councilmember Spellman.
No quick question for you, sir. I've heard of all the studies that you mentioned except for the one on IQ. Do you have a citation for it?
There are 24 separate studies. I know that many of them have been presented to the City Council in the past. The most recent was published by Harvard. It was funded by the National Institute of Health. I do not have a link currently, but I will get one to you.
Okay, well, I'll Google it. Thanks. If you can send it to me, I'd like to see the link.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Next, we have Will McLeod. Will McLeod, you have listed Ted Cruz for President 2016, Impeaching President Obama, Single-Use Bag Ordinance. Council should pass a resolution in support of abolishing the 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
That is, a single-use bag ordinance violates the Human Resources Code, Title 8, Chapter 121, Rights and Responsibilities of Persons with Disabilities, and the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act. And the fifth one is to be determined. That to be determined topic has to do with Mr. Pena's remark about the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act was SCOTUS ruling in Shelby County versus Holder, had to do with outdated 1965 information. There was no cover-up in that, and if you would please roll the video.
Cruz. In recent weeks, the IRS has admitted to unlawfully targeting conservative groups and trying to silence the president's critics. This is wrong, a chilling abuse of power. It needs to be fully investigated, and those involved must be held accountable. But we also need to make sure it never happens again. It's time to abolish the IRS, and no IRS enforcement of Obamacare.
If I might pose a question to the senior senator from California. In your response to Senator Cornyn, you mentioned that there's some 100 pages of the bill that specify particular firearms that if this bill were passed, Congress would have deemed prohibited. It seems to me that all of us should begin as our foundational document with the Constitution. And the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights provides that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And the question that I would pose to the senior senator from California is, would she deem it consistent with the Bill of Rights for Congress to engage in the same endeavor that we are contemplating doing?
Senator from Texas.
Madam President, the senior senator from Arizona urged this body to trust the Republicans. Let me be clear, I don't trust the Republicans. And I don't trust the Democrats. And I think a whole lot of Americans likewise don't trust the Republicans and the Democrats, because it is leadership in both parties that has got...
This is both an ongoing matter and an ongoing matter about which I know nothing. I do not know, I don't know what has happened in this matter. I did not know, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know, I don't know, I assume he was, but I don't know. And I don't know what you all are going to ask. I did not know, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know what happened, that I don't know. I don't know why that didn't happen. I simply don't have a factual basis to answer that question.
The president who opened new doors to Russia and China quits the White House in disgrace. He resigned rather than face impeachment for ordering illegal acts.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
Search of damaging intelligence.
There was pressure from the White House, from me, and from the president to the committee to get their campaign intelligence activity going.
Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. McLeod. Ronnie Reeferseed. Love liberty and stopping the wicked wars we're waging worldwide.
Thank you, wicked wars. Hallelujah, people. Yes, I'm Ronnie Reeferseed, yelling. All of us so-called grown-ups who want to express our love for liberty should smoke in the public. Yes, we can openly share these with cops. Why? This is a hand-rolled tobacco reefer. It's cheaper and I think healthier to buy truly organic American Spirit tobacco. Roll your own. Public smoking of any and all reefers accelerates our liberation from the ongoing tyrannical, counterproductive war on pot smokers that we've all been suffering from for decades. Thank you, Mr. Nixon. Smoking reefers of any kind is not for kids. You can quote me, Ronnie Reeferseed, on that. Rejoice! The U.S. Supreme Court did give us all victories yesterday. DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, was thrown out because the plaintiffs, quote, did not have standing. That's legalese. That means we just have to get the wording right. Most importantly, the U.S. Court ruled in favor of states' rights. That's right. The states still have the power to make our own laws about marriage, gambling, whatever. Therefore, I believe we are all now much closer to liberating ourselves from the counterproductive federal statutes. Now, Nixon's treasonous war on pot smokers is not long for our world, and of course, our truly evil, lame scheme media prostitutes reported in lockstep that the throwing out of DOMA, conservatives lost big time. No, we'll just get the wording right. So as we get it right next time. Brief history lesson here. Who created the United States of America? The states. Centuries ago, the original 13 colonies decided to unite to drive out those tyrannical Brits. We have fought and won already at least 2 wars to make that point. We might have to do it again to hold on to our national sovereignty. After all, it is the Constitution of the United States that is the supreme law of the land. That fact is not in dispute, and we all need to fight hard against our enemies, foreign and especially domestic, who try to threaten and or weaken our precious U.S. Constitution. Does Fast and Furious ring a bell, people? How about the truly evil National Defense Authorization Act that tyrannically threatens our U.S. constitutionally based separation of powers by giving our so-called president, so-called Peace Prize, permission to deny due process to U.S. citizens for any reason he wants to? Nope, that's not right. We all must unite to throw out the NDAA scalawags at the ballot box as soon as possible. There is a way. Our future is in our hands. Don't give up now. We are winning. Grown-ups, keep smoking reefers publicly because it's our right. Just say no to these treasonous tyrants and sing yes to liberty for all. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That concludes our citizens' communication. We have no executive session for today. Those items have been withdrawn. So I would suggest that we go into recess for the purpose of having lunch and convene back here at 1:15. All right.